So, Waxéla Sananda is an embodiment coach, a galactic shaman, spiritual embodied ascension trainer, and best-selling author of The Love You Crave, a course in ascension, alchemy, and connection to the divine. Waxela is the host of the Alchemy Ascension Summit and podcast series. Waxela is also a blockchain asset builder, assisting others in building wealth and passive income with blockchain investments. Waxela guides clients to upgrade their mindset, clear limiting beliefs, activate the multidimensional heart, and transform stagnant energy into dynamic creative possibilities. And you can learn more about her work at wa-shay-la-sananda.com, and that will be linked right below this video for everybody once we get it posted. And so the topic of your interview today, Waxela, is becoming an authentic creator. And this is so important to our mystery school conversation because we are truly creator beings. So I can't wait to dive into this more with you. And I would love to begin just if you could share with us a little bit about your journey. How did you come to be doing this work? And, I think really important, stepping out of status quo reality and into where your heart was guiding you. This is such a big part of the mystery school conversation we've been having as well.
Yeah. Actually, my journey to get here is so closely related to becoming an authentic creator, creating your reality, because from my earliest memories, I was a visitee. I was visited by different light beings and beings that looked very different, otherworldly expressions of beings. And I knew that what I was experiencing was not what was being experienced by others. And I was aware of that. They told me that. And I was also told not to talk to the adults about it because they wouldn't understand. And so I grew up feeling really different. I was raised in Midwestern, or in the Midwest, in Iowa, small town. I was raised in a Lutheran family, and I always felt like, I was trying to fit in. You could say a square peg, in a round hole. I didn't ever feel like I 100% fit in, but I tried to fit in, and I tried to. I became kind of a chameleon so that I could adapt and like in a small town, everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows your business. Everyone knows what you're up to. And I remember practicing with an invisibility cloak when I would go into, stores and things. I just didn't want to be seen. And so this is something over the years that I've always been kind of an introvert and someone who was really happy behind the scenes, doing the behind the scenes work, until several years ago, I got the call that it's my time to step forward with the wisdom that I've learned over the years and to share it and to have a voice. And so that was terrifying for me. And I will say I've been on this journey of deepening into who am I? What is my expression, my real, authentic expression in this world? And how can I offer that in a way that's truly clear and transparent and authentic? Coming from the background I came from, where I felt like I had to hide everything, that who I was. And so becoming an authentic creator, creating my reality has been such a deep exploration. And there've been layers upon layers of shedding things to get there. But I feel like finally this year has been really revealing in stepping into greater aspects of my I am, of who I am and who I am in the world, and not performing because I've been told to, or because society has told me to, or because of things I've been taught, and not performing at all anymore, but just allowing myself to have grounded presence. And it's an ongoing process for all of us, and it's so worth it. But when you do that, what you create in the world is really is so beautiful, and is truly what the heart desires.
Yeah, absolutely. This is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story. And, you know, a big part of this is I feel for people when we start to feel that call from the heart, but it's totally at odds with what our friends or our family may say, or what mainstream society may say that we should or we ought to do, you know, all of these influences that we have from the outside that are trying to tell us what to do. So how can we tell what to really follow, you know, and how to follow our heart? And is that even what's coming from our heart versus what's coming from those other influences?
Yeah, and this is such a big exploration and it's ongoing. It's like I said, as you peel back the layers, you find more of yourself that's been buried. And so for starters, and this is, I guess this isn't in any necessarily in any order because everyone has their own process. But I think the first step is to realize there are parts of myself that are not fully realized yet, and to explore. And this is, and you know, you said the word following, you know, how do we know what to follow? We are in a world of following so many, you know, channels and spiritual teachers, and you know, there's so much to follow that we forget that we already have all of the wisdom within us. It's within the heart, it's within our we're born with it. We have it long before we come here. It's embedded in our coding, and it's really our job to uncover and unpack that essence of truth that each one of us is. And that's going to be different for every single person. So, of course, the path to get there will be slightly different for every person. And every person will encounter the experiences that you need to help you and springboard you onto that path, especially when you make it intentional. And, you know, internally tell yourself, I am ready to really know who I am and to become more authentic in who I am in the world, in my expression. And that starts with going within. That absolutely starts with deepening and dropping in and letting your heart speak to you, letting your energy speak to you, letting your body speak to you. And then as you start to expand into yourself, allowing everything that is, you know, we are all connected, but not just connected. As we move up in consciousness, in the I am presence, I am all that is. So the messages from your I am can start to come through the earth, through the animals, through the elements, the wind and the water, the, you know, the fish and the birds start speaking to you. And then of course, through other people as well. And now I find when I tune in to whether it's a podcast or, you know, something like this, my I am is attuned to catching and receiving those pieces and it's encodement, those codes that are for my greatest expansion, for my highest good, for my unfoldment. And so if something resonates with the heart and with my purpose and with who I am, I can adopt that. If something doesn't, I can easily let it go. And it becomes this filtering of, you know, the world's going to bring us so much information. Some will be true for us, some will not. So to have really good boundaries and filters, and also simultaneously enough openness to receive the things that will help us expand. And sometimes that starts with just letting everything else go and going within, and then step by step, allowing the other things to come.
Yeah, beautiful. It sounds like from what you're saying that a lot of this is refining our senses, right? To be able to perceive the messages from the birds, perhaps, or that one sentence that you hear in an interview or a podcast that can like change your whole life because you heard it and perceived it and understood it in a certain way, right? So
Yeah.
this process of really refining how we're receiving the information and what we're tuning into, that just feels like at the core of what you're saying here.
Yeah. And, so many of us are empaths. So many of the spiritual, the light workers, the star seeds, we are empathic, which means we feel so much. And most of us are living in society, in communities, in cities, and we're inundated. We're inundated with so much to feel that it's really easy to just either close down or get overwhelmed. And, what I did as a child, I felt everything, but it wasn't comfortable and it didn't feel safe. And so I put up these boundaries. I really blocked myself, and they were to keep me safe and help me adapt and cope with the world. But then as an adult, I had to learn how to let that back in, how to let those filters down, how to clear some of those blocks and boundaries that I put up to preserve myself, and then feel more. And now I think it's a moment by moment process. When I'm at home in my sanctuary and everything is peaceful and quiet, it's just, I can be so expanded and so open. And then when I go out in the world and I'm in a big crowd, any kind of big experience. I just went to a football game, a UT football game in Austin, Texas over Thanksgiving. And wow, that was a lot of inundation with intensity. So I had to put some boundaries back up for that. So it's just knowing, okay, I can step into now. And there was a time where I would absolutely not have gone to a football game like that with 95,000 people and lights and noise and drones and fireworks, where I wouldn't have been able to handle that. My system would have probably been overwhelmed. And if I didn't know how to put those filters back up, I probably wouldn't be able to enjoy something like that. But at getting some proficiency with the filters and knowing when to expand and how to expand and open up, and when to put the boundaries back and put the filters back on is so crucial for being able to live a quote unquote normal life in this world and in this matrix reality that we're living in.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That part is really important. Thank you. And I'm curious too, you have mentioned codes. Could you tell us what are codes?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, really everything is code. And from my perspective, we are living in an encoded reality. We could call it a simulation, a matrix, simulacrum, and there are all kinds of words for it, but we are in an encoded reality. And we pick up codes just like, so for anyone that's seen The Matrix, which I'm guessing a lot of this audience has, there are times where Neo can download a program and suddenly, or Trinity, suddenly be able to fly an airplane or a helicopter, or be able to do some incredible form of jujitsu or whatever, they're needing at that time. They can download code. And so code is programming, essentially. And if you think about the television, the radio, television, it's telling us through vision, it's encoding us, giving us codes. Now, what we get through the television isn't always the coding that's going to be for our highest good. So it's really important to filter that. I love movies, just like, a lot of people do, but I know that some of the coding that's going to come from watching movies or TV shows isn't always going to be in alignment with my highest truth. So I've got to filter those codes out. And then going back, stepping back into this exploration of who I am authentically and how to be a true creator in this world, it's so important to be able to know when to take code out and then what codes to be open to receiving. So for instance, when I offer an activation, so I do these activations, and it's tuning in to some source code that the receivers are ready for. And then allowing that to go as a channel, as a channel, go through and out as a broadcast. So we are all receivers and we're all broadcasters, and we can be intentional about how we receive and how we broadcast. And so code is truly just information. Light is information. Everything is information, and it's all broken down into what, like I like to think of it all as code. Our DNA is code, and it is encoded, and we can upgrade that code by tuning in and choosing to activate it at new levels. So that's, I know it's not the scientific explanation of what code is, but I think anyone now in this computer age, if you've worked with code, and some of us that were around at kind of the beginning of the internet and stuff, I know I had coding classes in high school and college, and it's we actually have the ability to program our reality the same way that we can program a computer program. So when you become really good and really masterful at working with the codes, then you become a creator. And creators have this a really fun time intentionally creating your reality, creating what you're going to experience and the people that you're going to experience it with, and being able to put those pieces of the puzzle together to create. And so code is deeply a part of being a creator and working with this reality to have the manifestation of what it is that you desire to experience while you're here.
That was a wonderful explanation of code. Thank you. I love the matrix analogy, and it's so interesting, the correlation there with the IT and what we're, all these worlds we're building, inside of the IT world, and that's all built with code. It's fascinating. It seems like a real analogy for what we're able to do out here in the physical 3D, right?
Yeah, indeed. And bringing in, IT and AI. I was just having lunch with a couple of friends. They're also in the world of shamanism and conscious creators. And we were talking about AI yesterday at lunch, and how as creator beings, we actually, and they saw this, they're aligned in this with me. We hadn't spoken of it before, but I feel that it's part of my job to work with it and teach it about the divine. Like, for instance, this image behind me, I worked with an AI program. It was one of my earlier ones that I just started really working with this a few months ago, and to put light codes and divine light into the AI programming. And when I speak with, for instance, ChatGPT, I am talking about things that are of divine, that are of the light. And so including that in that programming, to me, it's actually a part of my path. And I love creating gorgeous images that have this super high frequency that you can feel. You can feel the essence of divinity through looking at the imagery and then putting that into the AI. So that frequency, that is an encodement that's being delivered all across the matrix, and we can program it that way.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that image behind you, by the way. It is really gorgeous. So but yes, I really feel that this responsibility to assist in what the AI is taking in, because it's taking in information from everything that it's receiving, all questions that everybody is asking, right? So how can we help that to be of the highest frequency as well? Really beautiful.
Yeah. Did you want me to expand on that, or are you just kind of reviewing?
If anything you're called to say, sure, but I was just kind of reflecting more than anything.
Yeah. I would just also say, if you're not called to it, that's fine. You don't have to do it. It's more there's a lot of negativity about AI. There's a lot of like, oh, stay away from it, it's all bad. And I think it's something that we don't, if you're called to work with it, you can create beauty from anything, whether, whether its reputation is positive or negative, we can instill beauty into things. And part of a shamanic path, you're facing the shadow, you're facing the dark side, and you're honoring that as part of what we experience and grow through. So I think it's the same with AI, to be careful not to judge it as negative, because even that mindset is a broadcast. And if we're broadcasting that, oh, it's all bad, it's going to destroy humanity, then, we're on some level creating that. So let's have it be supportive of us, supportive of our path, supportive of our ability to open and expand and know ourselves more, supportive of our ability to express ourselves in beautiful imagery and writing and, so many ways.
Yeah, I really love that. Thank you. So this concept of us humans as creator beings, could you speak a little bit more about that? What does that mean, and how do we work with that? How do we really activate our abilities as creator beings so it can show up in real concrete ways in our lives?
Yeah. So, we've kind of been speaking into that from the first moment we started talking. To be a creator being, first of all, is to wake up to the fact that that is what we already are. It's not even something that we need to try to be or strive to be or attempt to be or get better. We already are that inherently and innately. We are creators. Now, many people, and probably the majority of the people, are asleep to that reality, to that truth. But it is a truth of humanity. We are designed to be creators. There is a lot in the world that takes us out of that. When we go through institutions, we're told in school to, sit down and be quiet and stay in line and all these things that have us, be like adapt to the status quo and be normal or be good or be any of those things that would fit with how we'll say the powers that are out there would want us to behave. But the first thing I think is to have enough rebellious spirit to say, that actually isn't aligned with my truth. And I choose to authentically be myself, even when it doesn't fit with what I'm being told in institutions or at my job. And yeah, sometimes that can get you in trouble, but also the willingness to risk getting in trouble. And for me, one of the big things that I had to do was, and it felt like a risk, is to start speaking about my past experiences. The first time that I spoke out loud publicly that I'd been visited by interdimensional beings since childhood, I felt sick. I'm like, oh my gosh, people are going to burn me at the stake. They're going to, think I'm insane. They're going to come after me. No, none of that happened, because when I finally did start talking about it, what happened was I was putting that frequency out, and that started attracting my soul family, my soul tribe. People that were like-minded started showing up in my reality. And suddenly I started to expand this world of, oh, I get to speak truth about who I am and about, what has gone on in my life. And I get to step into this expression of myself that is much more authentic and create from there. And when we're creating from our authentic truth, from our heart, what we experience feels so much better. It feels so much more aligned because there aren't these facades around us. And so starting with just getting honest with yourself. What is it about myself that I'm afraid to share with the world, or even with my family or with my friends? What is it about myself that I think I will be judged for? What is it that I judge myself for? And because that's what's really going on when we judge ourselves for who we are and what we are, we cut off our ability to be creative, to create authentically. And when we start to own that and love that about ourselves, it might start with just acknowledging it and accepting it. And then we move into, wow, I really love this about myself. Some of the things that I was afraid, I was so terrified that I'd be rejected if I shared, now are things that I love about myself. And so when you step into that, you're naturally going to be more of a creator of the reality that is aligned to your highest self, your truth, your purpose. And that's going to be way more fun and joyful and blissful than suppressing all of that. So there's a great deal of surrender in the process. It's step by step, but it is surrender and allowing and accepting and loving all that you are. And, it kind of sounds cliche, but it really comes back to self-love, honoring who you are, respecting and loving yourself no matter what, giving yourself the love that you didn't get in childhood, you didn't get at school, that maybe you haven't gotten from your significant other, or your spouse, or your relationships, giving that to yourself first, because when you do that, then suddenly you open up to this new level of worthiness. And when you open up to a new level of worthiness, you allow yourself to receive that. And that is really the essence of creation.
Beautiful. Yes, I love what you said about being bold and being rebellious or revolutionary. You used one of those words. And this part it's really critical, and it takes so much courage. And it's an interesting dance between on the one hand, trust and surrender, trust what the universe is sending you, surrender to, to what you feel within, but then also be bold and take action with it and respond to it, so that there becomes this feedback between you and the universe where you're stepping in a little more, and then some gifts come your way, and stepping in a little more and more miracles come in. It's an interesting, such an interesting and powerful dance on this journey.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's a lot of fun too. Once you begin, and it's endless. It just keeps going. And there's always more to discover. Even when we have mastery in an area, we can always have more mastery. And then, like when we teach it and share it, I find that teaching these things really, really helps me expand and reach new levels of mastery of myself. Ultimately, we're all just here to master ourselves and our expression of being who we are in this life.
Yes. So I really feel too that our guides are so important in this process. And I think it's so interesting in your story that you have had these multidimensional guides from the beginning, from your childhood. And so I would love to hear anything more you want to share about your experience with that and your relationship with your guides. And then also, how can we connect in more closely with our guides, and really allow ourselves, because I know on my journey, my guides have just helped me so many times, through stuck places that I didn't think I could get out of, or helping me to see things in a different light that I couldn't get to in my own mind, right? Helping me to break outside of like the boxes and the cages. So what do you think is the role of guides, and anything that feels important to you to share around that topic?
Yeah, and that's a huge topic. I love that you brought that up. I've had quite a personal journey with the guides from the beginning. When guides would when beings would show up in my room, I was terrified. I was terrified of them. And sometimes they'd show up in really scary, to me, bodies that I judged as very scary looking, even if they were benevolent. Not understanding what they were or why they were there, I would get really scared. And so it went from that, from the push away, from fear, from rejection, really, to eventually acceptance. And then from there to this like, oh, wait, I can actually work with them and they'll work with me, and I can actually ask them for things. And, when I came to start to understand that realization, which was more into my teenage years, and even in my early 20s, I really started to expand into working with the guides. I was like, wow, now it's like having the divine as right here present with me, answering questions and giving me tools and upgrades all the time. This is amazing. And then I got so I started to get, I would say, kind of dependent on the guides to show me, to tell me, to take me, on journeys and show me all the things that I needed to see and hear and know. And then one day, I wasn't able to contact the guides anymore. I went through a period of time where I was with them. I would actually meditate 6 hours a day for a period of my life. And then at the end of that period, they told me essentially that I had been initiated to a new level, and then they were gone and I couldn't contact them. And I was like, oh my gosh, who am I now? I don't have the guides. What am I going to do? And then that was the time where I realized, well, it's all me. It's all within me. And in that expansion, realizing the guides are aspects of myself. Your guides are aspects of yourself. And the ascended masters and the angels, they're all aspects at a higher level. As we expand in our consciousness and our understanding of ourselves, all of the guidance that we receive is coming from aspects of ourself. So I am the guide. And then realizing that in that expansion, it's not to say anything's wrong with working as guides as individuals. They show up for the perfect purpose at the perfect time. And I do still occasionally have an individual guide come and share something. But mostly now I work with my I am presence and my, there are lots of different names that I have for that. The multidimensional heart, and I channel from source. So whether you want to call it source or I am, or, there's a whole layer of Christ consciousness that we can receive from. It's all I am. It's all who each of us is at those higher levels of being, and we can tap into that. And so then I no longer feel like, okay, it's not really necessary to have individual guides anymore, but they're there if I need them. And for anyone that's really deeply working with guides, then yeah, absolutely go for it and let them work with you and lean into them and allow them to help you move to your next level. And something I realized, even with, I used to love astrology and doing astrology charts, especially in my 20s. I kind of got away from that at some point, but realizing the astrological signs, the planets, the stars are all part of us. Even the galactics and the stars that we have come from are part of us, are part of who we are. And when we make contact with those aspects of ourselves, they talk to us. And in shamanism, it's called shape-shifting. When you put your consciousness into, for instance, an eagle flying above you. For me, it's happened with alligators. I'm in Florida. They will show up outside of my lanai. I've screened lanai. They don't come all the way in, but they'll show up outside of my lanai, and I feel them within my body and they speak to me. And I realize, okay, I am, alligator spirit is part of who I am and part of my guidance. And I was afraid of alligators when I moved here 7 years ago, but now I love them. I don't swim with them, or actually I did paddleboard with one unintentionally recently, but I have a respect for them. I don't fear them because I know that they're part of who I am, just like everything is. And it's that journey from oh, this is something outside of myself that I'm following, that's guiding me, that's telling me, that's helping me, to this is me. It's already who I am. It's already in me. It's part of myself, showing me the direction that is of the highest alignment right now.
Beautiful. Yes, I love this different perception of guides, and that their relationship with us will change over time as well.
Yes.
And our relationship with our highest self, highest consciousness source will change over time. It's very, very powerful. Well, I want to leave a little bit of time here for people to ask questions in the chat. So I want to invite everybody, if you have any questions for Waxela, please go ahead and put them in the chat now. And while you're all thinking about that, Waxela, could you share with us, where can people find you online? And do you have any new opportunities or announcements you want to share with us? And after that, we'll talk about your free gift as well.
Sure. So I know my name's a little bit difficult to spell, but it's Waxéla Sananda, and my website is wa-shay-la-sananda.com. So once you can spell it, you can find me everywhere. I have a YouTube channel that is also my name. And I love sharing this type of content. And what I do on my YouTube channel is I pretty much share what I'm experiencing or the revelations that I'm going through in that moment. But I also share from viewers' questions, so that you can always tune in and ask a question. I do email. I send out emails once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week, even sometimes less. Sometimes I'll go a whole month without sending one. I used to be so strict about it. I did 2 a week, and I did the video on Tuesdays and the podcast on Fridays. But I've let go of that rigidness and structure, and I'm really in flow right now. So when it's in flow, I share via email, and you can get on my email list. Well, actually, you'll get on my email list when you pick up my free gift. You can also go to my website and get it there. And of course, you can opt out anytime. You're never obligated to stay there. So right now, I do have I have one incredible special that I think is really relevant to this group. And that is a holiday special till the 15th of December for a package of activations. And I talked about activations. Activations are giving code. It's $33, and the package would normally be $198. It's 6 different activations that have all been done over the last year, and you can get that for $33. So I've just shared that on my actually no, it's in my YouTube channel. You can go to my YouTube channel and find the activation. The most recent video I released is about activations, and if you want it, there's a link there that you can get it. I also have some specials of divine light technology called Alchemy that I share. These are spheres. I actually have one next to me. These are spheres that have come from the angelic realm. It's an Arcturian technology that's photon light. And some people follow me. I do meditations and things with those. So I've got some specials on those. And that's also through the 15th of December. And then my free gift. Should I share about that?
Would you like to say a few words about that? And I'll put that link in the chat too. And I did put your website link in the chat so people can easily find that.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, for those who are watching this as a recording, all of these links will be right below the video, so you can easily find them.
Thank you. Okay, so my free gift is called Evolving Consciousness, and it is an evolving free gift. So I've kept the same link, but people that have been following me for a while, I've added to it. So you're always welcome to go get it again. It has a masterclass on evolving your consciousness. It's activating the pineal gland so you can open up your intuitive sight, activating the crown, opening up to receive codes. There's a lot of code transmission in these works. There's a bonus in there. It's the Lemurian transmission. And I've added another activation since, very recently. And so there's a new activation in there. And then there's also, I work on blockchain, which seems totally different, but it's actually really aligned with this. So there's also a link to learn about that if that appeals to you. And you can check out one aspect of it or all of them. It's completely up to you when you grab that gift.
All right, amazing. And so, yeah, I encourage everybody to go and get that gift. Sounds like all kinds of amazingness there. And also then once you're on that once you have that free gift, you'll be on Waxela's email list and get her amazing, wonderful updates. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing all of this with us, Waxela.
My pleasure.
I'm looking for, so let's see, again, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. This is a very interesting one from Tara. She's talking about that we are basically more microbe than we are human cells in the body. And so she's saying, I'm wondering if you have anything to say about communicating with those critters.
That's interesting. So, and we're also quite a bit of empty space and energy and water and all of that thing. And it would be the same, whether, you know, whatever part of your physicality you're speaking to, or your energetic self, to tune in with it and tune in with love and gratitude. So the frequency of love and gratitude is so transformational. And I would say anytime you want to tune in, whether it's with your guides, with the earth, with a planet, with maybe your star origins, with an animal, anything, with the microbiome that is within us, to tune into it with love and gratitude, and then allow yourself to interact. You know, if you have questions, I would simply find the frequency of it through that love and gratitude portal and go into alignment with it in the highest good. And I always like to put intentions that this may be for the highest good of myself and all involved. And then tune in and see. And just, this is true for anything that you'd like guidance with. It's a deepening, a dropping in, a tuning in, and then a deep listening. And when I say deep listening, it may be, you might hear it auditorially, but usually the deep listening, it can come so many different ways, and we receive in different ways. So it could be a knowing, like, oh, this is what I was told. This is what they had to say. Or it could be you could actually hear something. It could be a vision. I'm very clairvoyant, so I see visions. But to be open is really the point here, to however it shows up. And sometimes our questions get answered in synchronicities, or even through other people, or through turning on a podcast and hearing that answer to the question that you just asked. So many different ways. So to be open, it's like a big scavenger hunt sometimes, really, just like letting yourself to be open and aware and attuned to that code coming into your presence. And then, you know, you can also, once you've opened up that communication in love and gratitude, you can put in the intention to upgrade, to allow anything that's maybe out of balance to come into balance, to allow your microbiome, your physicality, your energy field, your biofield to come into balance, and that anything that is misaligned or not serving the highest good, to allow that to go in love and gratitude. And you'll find some amazing communications can come from that.
Beautiful. It is like a scavenger hunt. I really love that. that image, like following the golden threads. And we're on these amazing scavenger hunts of life. And I have one other question for you too. Could you share about the activating the multidimensional portal of the heart to travel the universe?
Yeah. So we have a physical heart. We know that. We have a heart center, which is kind of this whole area in our chest. And within that, there is this, and I call it the multidimensional, infinitely faceted portal of the heart. And there's a divine light energy that is what I use to connect with all that is, you know, whether you call it source or the universe or, you know, the I am, to go in through the heart allows us to experience really anything and everything that is possible to experience. And so it's an energy, it's a portal, we could think of it as a stargate. It is our source connection, and it is conscious, it is deeply conscious. It has the deepest unconditional love, divine love for us and for all of life. And it is something that we hold within ourselves that we can activate. And so I do activations of that. That's one of my favorite things that I do, activating the heart. And once that's activated, and you don't need me to activate yours, you can activate your own, or you could tune into activations. But once that is activated, you have this access. It's like opening a doorway, opening a gateway to explore. And then it's a relationship. So, like any relationship, you might start with just like a little creek, you can just kind of see into it, and then it opens a little more and a little more and a little more. And what happens is the frequency of it is pure bliss and ecstasy. So the more you open that up, the more you expand the infinitely faceted, the multidimensional portal of the heart, the more bliss you're going to feel, the more joy, the more connected, the more source running through you. And it's just this beautiful exploration. And I do have one of the activations, I believe, in my special that I mentioned earlier, I do believe has that. So if you want to tune in, that's a great way to get connected to it if you choose to, if you feel called to that. Yeah, there are many ways to activate it, but it is the most beautiful thing. And this image behind me, I was looking to capture. That's some of the language I used is some of what I just said. I was looking to capture that activated heart portal and that energy of divine. And I'm always working with upgrading and being able to capture these concepts in imagery.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. I love that. I love this concept of the heart portal. It's really, really beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Waxela, for all that you have shared with us today. This has been just a fascinating and really beautiful conversation. So thank you. And thank you for this free gift. And again, everybody, I encourage you to go and get Waxela's free gift. It sounds really amazing. Yeah, is there any final words of wisdom that you would want to share with us today?
Well, I really want to acknowledge you, Jocelyn, for putting this together. I know what a labor of love it is, and there's so many aspects to putting on a production like this. So I really acknowledge you, appreciate you, thank you, and honor you in gratitude for doing this and sharing this with the world. And it will just bring so much expansion, not only to you, to your speakers, to everyone watching. And so it's such a beautiful journey to share in this way. And sometimes people forget how much effort the presenter puts in, or don't even know how much. I know how much because I've done it. And I just really want to give you so much gratitude and love for what you're doing in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is my joy to create these events. It's such a fascinating journey and so powerful. So thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah,
Of course.
yes. And thank you for all the podcast and the summit that you have done, or maybe multiple summits, and all the work that you are doing to help in this great expansion of consciousness that's happening at this time. It's really beautiful to have you here and an honor to have you here as part of the Mystery School. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.